So, what's your knowledge like when it comes to irises? You know, the plant? Mine was pretty limited, apart from loving the colours, the rich, deep blue flowers that I love to see come out in my garden. But did you know, for example, that it takes its name from the Greek word rainbow? Which is lovely, isn't it? Also, it's inspired many painters, including Vincent van Gogh, and it's also used to flavour Bombay gin. I know your ears have pricked up now, haven't they? Well, it's approaching Iris Week at Darlington Hall at the end of May, and this year they've got a special guest who has a great pedigree when it comes to irises. It's Simon Dosworth, who was co-founder of the English Iris Company, and he's here to explain all. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Nicola.
So were those right then? Is my research correct? The whole idea that the name comes from the Greek word rainbow.
Yeah, I think Iris was the goddess of the rainbow. I think that's a technical term.
And it is used to flavour Bombay gin.
Well, that's news to me. I mean, what I'd heard was that it was actually used as a fixative in perfume.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because it's your dad, really. It's your father who was essentially a multi-Oscar winner in the Iris world. He had 12 Dykes medals, is that right? What are they then?
Well, the Dykes medal is, as you say, the equivalent of the Oscar of the Iris hybridizers world, and it's awarded. It's awarded for somebody who actually produces an iris that is of outstanding merit. My father, in his sort of 40, 50-year hybridizing career, won the medal 12 times, and nobody previously won it more than 4 times in its 80-plus year history. So he was pretty good.
So what was it that he did then? You know, when you're talking about hybridizing, what was he doing that won him those medals?
Sure. I mean, basically, he started off by admiring the irises at Kew in the 50s. Mm-hmm. He then liked what the Americans were doing in the sort of mid-50s, mid-60s, and then got frustrated as they went on, and they started to produce larger flowers and more sort of garish flowers. And what he was really wanted was he said, well, look, you know, I don't like these anymore. I think I'm going to have a go, and I'm going to start hybridizing myself. And that was really the spur that got him going. And then over a period of time, I mean, he basically started developing a sort of particular pattern of irises, and his preoccupation was really all about form and structure, and that's really what distinguishes my father's irises, and that's all to do with a perfectly shaped flower carried on a stem that's with branches that are evenly spaced along the stem, so that each flower can flower as an individual, and you can see it in its own right.
How difficult is it to achieve that?
Really tough, because and what's extraordinary is that over that 40, 50-year period, we reckon he produced about 100,000 seedlings.
Wow.
And registered only 50 varieties. He was a real stickler. And so the ones that we have and the ones that remain and the named varieties are really tip-top quality.
Because can you describe some of your father's irises? I've had a look on the website, and the way that I can kind of, or the thing that I immediately think of is kind of like a 17th century French court, you know, with the hair.
Sure.
It's kind of that.
I mean, they're very sort of artistic. I mean, the iris symbol is something that you often associate with Florence, and it's a combination really of a flower with standards, which are the petals that sort of point upwards, and falls, as the name would suggest, are the petals that literally fall downwards. And what my father was trying to do was he said it was really important to produce a flower that was in proportion to the stem height, and that was robust enough, in his case, to withstand the Nottinghamshire wind and rain, because he had a really sort of drafty garden, and it was heavily wind blown, and so they really had to be pretty tough.
What was it like growing up with this passion of his, your dad's?
Well, it was interesting. I mean, we were always aware when Iris time was approaching, because things got a little bit tense, and his habits would change, and he always said to us that actually the main sort of delight was he would be waking up at 4 in the morning and literally waiting for the new blooms that he'd hybridized that were flowering for the very first time. And he had this sort of extraordinary moment where actually you could actually determine whether or not you produced something that was exceptional or not. And he carried on doing this way into his 80s.
Wow.
And if anybody ever wants to say that gardening's a dull old business, it jolly well isn't. And what it gives you is a fantastic way of thinking about the future. And things are always going to be better next year. I'm always going to do something else. You're always looking forward at a time in your life maybe when many people are just looking backwards. So that really drove him and got him motivated.
I suppose it's the natural step for you then to continue this legacy.
I've been enormously lucky, really. What happened was that in 1989, my father featured on a Gardener's World broadcast, and following that particular broadcast, he was contacted by somebody called Barry Emerson, who asked my father if he would teach him everything he knew about irises. My father then mentored him for 20 years until my father died in 2009, and since my father's death, Barry has really helped me, and bluntly, without his help, we wouldn't be in the situation we are now. And we've had this sort of roller coaster which has involved photographing all the irises, cataloguing all the irises, and we're still actively involved in a process of identifying some. We've got most of them, but my father fortunately left us a whole load of slides, which is good. He had a very, very complicated planting record, which due to his involvement in the war was all in code, and we haven't managed to bottom.
Oh, my word.
That's been a problem. But what we did do last year, which was interesting, we on predictably a filthy rainy day, we sat in my father's greenhouse with a computer. We had a projector with the slide images, and we had live flowers, and for about 8 hours we tried to match things up, and we were going through the various colours, the whites, the blues, the yellows, and we got a good proportion, but there's quite a bit of unfinished business.
Goodness me, you must have the patience of a saint.
Well, it's taken rather more time, and I've got rather more involved in this than I realised at the outset.
Has it become a bit obsessive for you, actually?
A bit. Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is that we suddenly found that we knew the irises were good. I had no idea how good they were, nor did I know how different they are from anything that's available commercially today. And so that in a way is really what's sort of driven us a bit, and we're passionate. Barry and I are both passionate about promoting British irises at a time when actually most of the irises, the new irises you can buy, come from abroad, or they come principally from Europe or from the States.
I see. So why is Doddington Hall so special to you then, and your father's legacy?
Well, Doddington were great. After my father died, I mean, Anthony Jarvis made contact and just said, look, we've always admired your father's iris collection, and we'd love to have some of the irises at Doddington. And so over a period of the last couple of years, we put some of my father's irises, and they've been planted in the walled kitchen garden at Darlington. And we've had a sort of an ongoing relationship, and the plan is to slowly increase the range of irises that are held at Darlington. And at a time when I'm applying to Plant Heritage at the moment to have the collection registered as a national collection, we hope long term we'll part of the national collection will be at Doddington as well. So that's really our link, and we've had terrific support from Anthony, from Claire Birch, and from David Logan, the head gardener there.
Wow, that must be really special, actually.
It's a great relationship, actually. I mean, I like to think it's good, and I really would urge people. You mentioned Doddington Iris Week. I think it runs from the 31st of May. It's a great thing to do and go and see. And can I just talk a bit about the event on the 4th of June, which is
because you're actually coming, aren't you, with Barry?
Absolutely.
And people can pick your brains about the irises.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got a couple of sessions. The morning session is sold out, I'm pleased to say, but we're running an evening event at Doddington between 5:30 and 8:30. It's sort of drinks and canapes on the private part of the terrace, and that's a part of the West Garden which isn't normally open to the public. I'll do a talk about my father. Barry's going to do a tour and a practical sort of demonstration of what makes irises special and what makes my father's irises special. And he's also going to talk a little bit about hybridizing. We're more than happy to take sort of questions on, advice about growing and things, because irises are dead easy to grow, Nicola. They're incredibly hardy.
Well, it's the Nottinghamshire winds and rain, isn't it?
Absolutely, they need to be. Not like these pampered things from France, which don't do quite so well in the UK.
I have to say, Simon, that is my kind of gardening, with canapes and drinks on the lawn.
Absolutely, we better come, Nicola. No, but what I was going to say, it's important. There are still places available, and.
Getting quick.
Any of your listeners who are interested, they must ring Doddington on 01522 812 510.
Lovely. And I understand that you're doing some work for Chelsea, aren't you, with your irises?
Yep. We have. I've been preparing. I've got 50 irises that they're being collected and will go to Chelsea tomorrow morning. And they will feature as part of a display on Susie Marsh's sculpture stand. We've got to make a start, and she's got some amazing garden sculpture, and the irises will set it off really well. We've got 3 varieties. A thing called Red Pike, which is a sort of deep burgundy red. A thing called Charnwood Delight, which is sort of Leicestershire origins for you, which is a sort of vibrant yellow. And an absolute knockout orange, a thing called William of Orange.
Yes, I've seen that. They're all on the website, aren't they? Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, they look fantastic. They're so vivid, those colours as well, aren't they?
Well, again, my father, I didn't mention colour. You see, everybody's mad keen, obsessed about colour in horticulture these days. My father's preoccupation was form and structure. He said colour was a sort of secondary matter. But what he preferred was flowers of the same colour. They're called selfs, okay? And then then there are variations on selfs, which where you can get a thing called a bitone, which is where you've actually got say a blue, but maybe the standards are slightly paler blue and the falls are darker blue, or vice versa. But if you've got, his main thing was that actually if you've got a flower that's largely of the same colour, you can actually see it across your garden as an entity. You can see with my father's irises, you look across your garden 30, 40 yards, and you can see individual blooms. One of the problems with modern colour mixes, which is the major preoccupation, go to Chelsea this time, you'll see a range, you'll see some fabulous new irises. But actually when you're looking at them across your garden, if they're colour mixes, you lose the identity of the flower, and they become muddied and blurred.
Yeah, of course.
That again is actually what makes these things really rather special. But perhaps the best way to do it is come and see for yourself, and come to the Doddington Iris event, and or just come and visit them in the walled garden, because they will look stunning.
Well, I can't wait, Simon. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about it. I feel like my knowledge of irises is already so much better, and they are beautiful flowers. You can go to the website, actually, the English Iris Company, and you'll be able to see, because he was talking about the Red Pikes and William of Orange, and you can see what he's talking about, because they do look beautiful. Iris Week, as Simon said, is at Doddington Hall from Sunday the 31st of May. It runs through until Sunday the 7th of June. And if you want to meet Simon and Barry that he was talking about, and the head gardener at Doddington, then they are doing one of these special events Thursday the 4th of June at 5:30. There are a few spaces left for that. If you want more details, give us a call here at BBC Radio Lincolnshire. We'll pass you all the numbers that you need. 01522 511 411.